I paid my sister's rent for a year. Then I found out she bought a house and forgot to tell me. I was on my way to pick up groceries when I saw it. I almost didn't stop. It was one of those things you notice in passing. A big sold sign staked into the lawn of a cute little house in a quiet neighborhood. But something caught my eye. The car in the driveway. My sister's car. I slowed down, blinking in confusion. Megan's car had a dent on the side from when she backed into a pole last year, so I knew it was hers. But why was she parked here? At first, I thought maybe she was visiting a friend. Or maybe she was house sitting. It didn't make sense. She was barely making ends meet. That's what she told me every time rent was due and she didn't have the money. That's why I had been covering her rent for the past year, scraping by, working extra hours just to help her. I pulled over, my heart beating faster now. Megan walked out of the front door, laughing, holding a set of keys. I stared. Keys. She wasn't visiting. She lived here. The real estate agent next to her shook her hand, saying something I couldn't hear. Megan was beaming like she had just won the lottery. My body felt weirdly light, like I wasn't really there. I stepped out of my car and walked toward her, my legs moving on autopilot. She looked up, saw me, and the smile froze on her face. Emily, hey. Her voice was too high, too bright. Vic. I stopped in front of her, staring at the keys in her hand. You bought a house? She hesitated for half a second, just long enough for me to see the guilt flash in her eyes. I was going to tell you, she said quickly, shoving the keys into her pocket like that would make them disappear. Things moved really fast. Things moved really fast. The words echoed in my head like static. I had been struggling to keep my own bills paid while covering her rent for the past year, thinking she was barely keeping her head above water. And the whole time, she was saving for a house. My voice came out sharper than I intended. You told me you had no money. Megan let out a nervous laugh. I mean, I didn't, not for rent. But I was working on getting my future set up, you know? Making smart moves. Smart moves. I repeated, my stomach twisting. She let me believe she was broke while she put all her money into a down payment. I worked overtime. I cut back on my own spending. I skipped vacations. I stayed in a tiny apartment with secondhand furniture. Also, she wouldn't lose her place. And she was never struggling at all. Megan's smile faltered. Look, Em, I get why you're upset, but it's not like you gave me money directly. You helped with rent, sure, but I never asked you to. I blinked. What? He shrugged. I mean, yeah, I told you I was tight on money, but I didn't say you had to pay. You just did it. My jaw tightened. Because you made it sound like you were struggling. Like you had no other choice. Well, yeah, she said, shifting her weight. I didn't have money for everything. I had to prioritize. You were in a more stable position, so it just made sense. My chest felt tight. More stable? Megan, I barely had enough to keep up with my own expenses. I took extra shifts. I skipped things I wanted to do because I thought you needed help. Her face darkened slightly, her voice turning defensive. It's not like you were sending me cash. You were just paying my rent. And it's not like I was wasting money. I was investing in something real. Something real. I stared at her, disbelieving. So let me get this straight, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. You let me pay your rent while you put your money into a house. And now that you have it, you think that makes it okay? She sighed like she was exhausted by my reaction. Emily, I was going to tell you. When? I cut in. After you picked out the furniture? After the housewarming party. She rolled her eyes. I knew you'd react like this. I let out a breath, shaking my head. You knew I'd be angry because you knew it was wrong. She didn't answer. That was all I needed to know. I turned and walked back toward my car. Emily, come on, don't be like that, she called after me. I didn't stop. Look, if you're upset, I'll make it up to you. You can come stay here whenever you want. I'll even let you use the guest room. I got in my car and slammed the door before she could finish. As I drove away, my hands were shaking. Not just from anger. From humiliation. I had been played. I had spent a year struggling to make ends meet, thinking I was helping my sister, thinking I was keeping her afloat. And she never needed my help at all. I gritted my teeth, gripping the wheel tighter. She let me sacrifice for her. And she didn't even feel bad about it. I didn't go home right away. I drove around for nearly an hour, gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. I was too angry to sit in silence, too restless to be alone with my thoughts. Every time I replayed the conversation in my head, I felt the heat rise in my chest all over again. Megan had tricked me. She had let me believe she was struggling while she put away enough money for a house. And the worst part? She didn't even feel guilty. She actually tried to make me feel stupid for getting mad. It was a pattern. It had always been a pattern. I just hadn't let myself see it. Growing up, Megan was always the one who got away with things. I was the responsible one, the dependable one, the one who never made trouble. If something needed to be done, I did it. If Megan needed help, I was expected to give it. And if I ever complained, I was being selfish. Mom used to say it all the time. Emily, just help your sister. She's younger than you. Emily, don't make such a big deal out of it. She looks up to you. Emily, you're so lucky to be so independent. Megan just needs a little more help. At some point I stopped questioning it. It was just how things were. I was the one who had to be responsible, keep things running, be the glue that held everything together. Megan got to be the one who made mistakes, got second chances, and was forgiven every single time. Like the time she stole money from my savings jar when we were kids. I had been saving up for months to buy a new bike. I counted the bills every night, excited to finally have something of my own. Then one day half of it was gone. I told Mom. She barely reacted. Megan, did you take your sister's money? Megan had shrugged. I needed it. And that was the end of it. No punishment. No apology. Nothing. Mom just turned to me and said, Emily, don't make a fuss. It's just money. You can earn it back. I remember staring at her, confused. Why did it matter less just because it was mine? Megan was the one who took it. But I was the one being told to get over it. It happened again over and over. Megan would screw up and I was supposed to pick up the pieces. Like when we were teenagers and she got caught cheating on a test. Instead of facing the consequences, she begged me to help. You're smarter than me, just take my retake for me. They won't even notice. I said no. She cried. Mom got involved. Emily, why can't you just help your sister? You don't want her to fail, do you? Megan didn't fail. But she didn't learn anything either. Why would she? Every time she messed up, someone fixed it for her. And it was almost always me. I had thought, stupidly, that things would change when we got older. That she would grow up, take responsibility for herself, stop expecting me to handle everything for her. I was wrong. Because here I was, a grown woman who had just spent an entire year struggling to cover my sister's rent while she saved up for a house. And she didn't even have the decency to feel bad about it. I gritted my teeth, slamming my foot down harder on the gas pedal. Megan's voice echoed in my head. I mean, yeah, I told you I was tight on money, but I didn't say you had to pay. You just did it. Like it was my fault. Like I had tricked myself into believing she needed help. But she had let me. She encouraged it. She had no problem taking and taking and taking as long as I was willing to give. I wanted to scream. Instead, I drove home, parked in my tiny apartment complex, and sat in the dark, staring at the dashboard. I thought about all the times I had told myself Megan would do the right thing. That she would change. That this time would be different. I had been wrong every time. And I wasn't going to be wrong again. I wasn't going to let her do this to me ever again. I just didn't know how to stop it. Because if I cut her off, my family would notice. And they wouldn't take my side. They never did. I could already hear Mom's voice in my head. Megan didn't mean any harm. She was just trying to get ahead. She's your sister, Emily. Family helps each other. But where was my help? When I was working overtime, when I was skipping meals to make my paycheck stretch further, when I was lying awake at night wondering how I was going to keep covering someone else's bills. Where was my help then? I had a feeling I already knew the answer. No one had ever worried about me the way they worried about Megan. And maybe it was time I stopped worrying about her too. I woke up the next morning with a headache and a pit in my stomach. Sleep hadn't done anything to dull the anger. If anything, it was worse. Because now, after a night of replaying every moment in my head, I wasn't just mad at Megan. I was mad at myself. I had let this happen. I had let Megan manipulate me, take advantage of me, walk all over me just like she always had. And I knew exactly why. Because every single time Megan did something selfish, our family made me feel like the bad guy for standing up for myself. And this time would be no different. I knew I should just walk away. Let it go, be done with her. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to say my piece. I needed her to look me in the eyes and hear exactly what she had done to me. I grabbed my phone and called her. She answered on the third ring, her voice way too casual. Hey sis. You good? Like she hadn't completely betrayed me less than 24 hours ago. I didn't bother with small talk. Are you home? She hesitated. Yeah, why? Good. I'm coming over. Pause. Then warily, Emily, can't we just talk later? I was already grabbing my keys. No. I'll be there in 10. She sighed. Fine. I hung up. I wasn't giving her time to come up with another excuse, another way to twist the situation until it somehow became my fault. 10 minutes later, I pulled up to her house. Not the tiny apartment I had been paying for, her house. I parked and took a deep breath, trying to push down the fury bubbling in my chest. I wasn't going to let her gaslight me, guilt me, or make me feel crazy this time. She opened the door before I even knocked. Look, Em, I get that you're mad, but... I pushed past her into the house. Mad? Megan, I'm beyond mad. She closed the door and crossed her arms. You're overreacting. I laughed. Actually laughed. You let me pay your rent for a year while you saved up for a house. And now you're standing in that house, telling me I'm overreacting. Megan sighed dramatically, like she was bored of this conversation already. I didn't make you pay, Emily. You offered. I clenched my jaw. Because you lied. You made it sound like you were struggling. You said you had no money. You let me think you were one step away from losing your apartment, and the whole time, you were just using me so you could save up for a house. Her expression flickered just for a second. But then she shrugged. So what? It worked, didn't it? I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Are you serious? Megan let out an exasperated sigh. Emily, you act like I stole from you. I didn't. You covered rent because you could. I was saving for my future. I stared at her. At my expense. She threw up her hands. Oh my God, you act like you're poor. You're fine. You have a job, you're not living on the streets. I don't get why you're making this such a big deal. I had to take a deep breath to keep from screaming. I had worked myself to exhaustion so she could put money away, and she was acting like it was nothing. Like I didn't matter. Something inside me snapped. You are the most selfish person I have ever met, I said, my voice cold and even. Megan rolled her eyes. Right. Because I wanted to build a life for myself that makes me selfish. No. Because you let me sacrifice everything for you while you lied to my face. Because you only care about yourself. Because you don't feel even a little guilty that I was struggling while you were stashing money away. He shook her head, scoffing. You're so dramatic. I turned to leave. That's when she said it. You know, you'd be happier if you weren't so bitter all the time. I froze. Bitter. That's what she thought. Not that I had been used. Not that she had done something wrong. Just that I was bitter. Like I was just mad because she had something I didn't. I turned back, something dark curling in my chest. I feel sorry for you, Megan. She blinked. What? You're never going to have real happiness. Because you only know how to take. You don't build anything. You don't earn anything. You just take and take and take from the people who actually care about you. And one day there won't be anyone left to take from. For the first time she actually looked uncomfortable. Whatever, Emily. I walked out. I was done. Done making excuses for her. Done letting her drain me dry. Done being the only one who cared. But I should have known it wasn't over. Not with my family. Because the second I cut Megan off, they came after me next. The next day my mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted. Mom, Emily, call me. We need to talk. I ignored it. 2 hours later my dad called. Then Megan again. By the end of the day I had 8 missed calls. I finally caved and answered when Mom called again. Emily, she sighed. Why are you being so cruel to your sister? I nearly dropped the phone. Cruel. She told me what happened. Mom said, like I had kicked a puppy instead of confronting a liar. She's devastated. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. Oh, she's devastated? That's interesting because I was pretty devastated when I found out I spent a year covering her rent while she saved for a house. Emily, Mom said, that disappointed tone slipping into her voice. Megan needed help. You've always been the responsible one. It just made sense for you to help her until she was on her feet. I squeezed my eyes shut. Mom. She wasn't struggling. She was lying. She was doing what she had to do, Mom said firmly. And now she has a house. Isn't that a good thing? I gritted my teeth. Not when she got it by manipulating me. There was a long pause. Then, you're always so stubborn, Mom sighed. You've never been able to just let things go. I clenched my jaw. You mean I don't let people walk all over me? She's your sister, Emily. Family helps each other. I let out a slow breath. And what about me? Mom hesitated. What? When have you ever expected Megan to help me? My voice was quiet now. When has she ever done anything for me? Silence. Then, Emily, don't be difficult. I closed my eyes. It was never going to change. Megan wasn't the only problem. My whole family was the problem. And I was finally done playing my role in it. I didn't respond to my mom. I just ended the call and sat there staring at the blank screen. It was like something inside me had finally snapped. Not in an angry, explosive way. No yelling, no throwing things. Just silence. A calm, heavy, dead weight in my chest. I wasn't mad anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. For the first time in my life, I saw things clearly. I had spent years believing I was part of this family, that I mattered, that they saw me as something more than just the one who cleaned up after Megan's mistakes. But they didn't. To them, I was useful. That was all. And now that I had stopped being useful, they were turning on me. I put my phone on silent, shoved it into a drawer, and left my apartment. I didn't even know where I was going at first. I just needed to move. I needed to be anywhere but here, drowning in their voices in my head, trying to pull me back in. An hour later, I found myself at a cafe on the other side of town, sipping a cup of coffee I wasn't even sure I wanted. I stared out the window, watching people pass by, their lives normal, simple, untouched by the kind of exhaustion I felt. And then my phone vibrated. I shouldn't have checked it. I knew that. But I did. A message from my dad. Dad, Emily, I really think you need to apologize to your sister. She's really upset and you're being unfair. Unfair. I actually laughed out loud, a sharp, bitter sound that made the older woman at the next table glance at me. Unfair. Megan had lied to me, used me, drained me dry, and I was the unfair one. I shoved my phone back into my bag, jaw clenched. They weren't going to stop. They weren't going to let me leave my role behind. I had to make them. The next morning, I woke up to another round of missed calls and texts. I didn't answer. Then someone knocked on my door. I knew before I even looked who it would be. I opened it to find Megan standing there, looking exhausted, like she hadn't slept. Her expression flickered when she saw me, like she was expecting someone softer, someone ready to make peace. I just stared. She sighed. Emily, can I come in? I crossed my arms. Why? She let out a short laugh, shaking her head. Wow. Okay. He pushed past me anyway. Typical. I closed the door, turning to face her. What do you want? She looked around my apartment, frowning like she had never really seen it before. Probably because she hadn't. Megan never bothered to visit me unless she needed something. She let out a breath. Look, I get that you're mad. I do. But I don't think you understand my side of things. I almost laughed. Your side. She nodded, arms crossed. I had to do what was best for me. That's not a crime. You've always been stable, Emily. You've always had a good job, a good head on your shoulders. I knew you'd be fine. I just stared at her. That was her excuse. That I was too responsible. So, because I was fine, that meant it was okay to use me? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, I didn't use you. I raised an eyebrow. She hesitated. Okay, maybe I let you help me. But that's what family does. We help each other. No, Megan, I said, voice steady. I helped you. You never helped me. She blinked. I stepped closer. Tell me one time. One time in our whole lives when you sacrificed something for me. Silence. She shifted uncomfortably. Emily, come on. No. Say it. She looked away. I don't know. I never kept track of stuff like that. Because you never had to, I said. Her jaw tightened. You're acting like I committed a crime. I just did what was best for me. And I'm doing what's best for me, I said, my voice cool. She frowned. What does that mean? It means I'm done. Her eyes narrowed. Done with what? With you. With this family's expectations. With being your safety net. I'm done, Megan. He actually laughed. No, you're not. I didn't smile. I am. For the first time, real panic flashed in her eyes. Emily, don't be ridiculous. You're just mad. You'll get over it. I shook my head. Not this time. She let out a frustrated breath. Okay, fine. What do you want? You want me to pay you back? I stared at her. You don't have the money. She hesitated. You can't afford the mortgage, can you? I asked, tilting my head. She flinched. That was it. That was why she was here. It wasn't just guilt. It wasn't just my parents pushing her to fix things. She was struggling. And she had come here hoping I'd bail her out. You spent everything, didn't you? I said. He swallowed. I exhaled slowly. I hope it was worth it, Megan. Because you're going to have to figure it out on your own. She scoffed. Oh, so now you don't care if I lose my house? I met her gaze. I care that you finally deal with the consequences of your own choices. She shook her head. You're so cold. No, I said simply. I'm just finally looking out for myself. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue more. But then she saw something in my face. Something she couldn't manipulate. And for the first time she knew she had lost. She exhaled sharply. Fine. Whatever. She turned and walked to the door, gripping the handle. She hesitated. You know, she said, not turning around, you're not as strong as you think. You'll be back. I smiled. No, Megan, I said. I won't. She walked out. I shut the door and locked it. Then I stood there in the quiet, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Because for the first time in my life I had chosen myself. And I wasn't going back.